everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
GEEK Buddies! Hey!
We're back at it again this week with our main show, talk about all things going on in the world of geekery from this past week of entertainment. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're listening to us or watching us here on the Outlaw Nation. We appreciate it madly. We're going to get into some trailers, going to get into some Rock hanging out with Disney permanently. We're going to get into conversations about Marvel and Blade and all of that. And we're going to have our spoiler review for The Boys Season 4 episodes 1 through 3. So strap in. This is going to be a hell of a show for sure. But let's introduce ourselves first. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and an animation writer where you can see some of our current work right now. The first 2 seasons of Strawberry Shortcake Berry in the Big City on Netflix. All 3 seasons of Strawberry Shortcake Berry in the Big City on YouTube. And the 4 seasonal holiday specials of Strawberry Shortcake, 2 of which were written by that gentleman right there on Netflix.
There it is. There you go.
I want to see the Strawberry Shortcake version of The Boys. I want to see the Berry Boys. I want to see that. You guys write an episode of that. What would be the uncomfortable?
Oh, we could write it.
I bet you could. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to see the songs from that one. All right, so here we go. The way this show works is,
I mean, look, we already got a banger in the first 3 episodes of The Boys as far as songs go. We got a real good one in episode 3.
Yes. Vaught on ice. Anyway, we're going to get into the way it works is each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves, take a couple of breaks, and then we get into our main topic. And our main topic will be The Boys Season 4, episodes 1 through 3 spoiler review. And if you want to just jump to that now, the time codes are down below. Jump to that, watch that, and then swing on back and watch the rest of us and the other stuff we're talking about here. But I'm going to kick it off here. We're going to talk about the big news that happened in Marvel this week. Let me bring it up here. Yann Demange has amicably, quote unquote, parted ways with Marvel Studios as the director of Blade. This is yet another setback for the Blade movie on the Marvel side of things. 5 years this film has. I mean, I think the 3 of us were. I was still living in LA when this got announced at Comic-Con. The 3 of us were there watching it happen. It got announced. Mahershala Ali as Blade. Exciting times. But since then, it's gone through numerous directors, numerous writers. And now Yann Demange, the latest director, has stepped aside from this film and will no longer be back on this. So I think Eric Pearson stays on as the writer here, who also wrote Fantastic Four. So, gentlemen, I mean, I've called this film The Black Gambit. We're never going to see it. What is going to happen here? And this pushes the film out even further, I think, past 2026, possibly 2027. Your thoughts when you heard this news, gentlemen?
I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that Yann Demange sounds like Bon Voyage. Oh,
wow.
I really thought that. I thought that was going to get more of a groan. I think that was worse. I got apathy.
Yeah, just felt bad for you on that. How long did that one take you to workshop?
I mean, it only took about 10 seconds, but I had a better feeling. But hey, nobody bats 1,000. In this case, nobody's batting 500. But in terms of speaking of batting 500, this movie, I think Marvel has probably learned a very valuable lesson in announcing things before they're ready to go. And even though they were just announcing that he was going to be playing the character, I mean, again, by the time Eternals came out, I mean, like that was his voice that we heard in the post-credit sequence. Like this movie, like it seemed like they knew what they were going to do. But in hindsight, it's like, okay, you knew who you wanted. You knew that Mahershala Ali wanted to play Blade. And the idea of an Academy Award winner, another Academy Award winner, headlining one of your films, a character that is very popular and a character that is near and dear to this particular actor's heart. It's like, this seems like a no-brainer, but for whatever reason, they are just having a difficult time cracking what this movie is going to be. Yeah. So obviously it's going to be delayed. I mean, we had kind of off mic speculated, like it was supposed to be coming out in November, I think. And it's like, okay, my guess is it gets delayed to 26. Fantastic Four will get delayed out of July and take Blade's spot. That was sort of my thought about it. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that it's like, God, how is this so hard to get right? But I mean, I guess when you are looking at the consolidation that they are trying to do, trying to streamline things, trying to get the train back on the tracks. They're not putting forward a movie that's not ready. So even though it's frustrating, the fact that they're not, they know they don't have it. So why continue down a path with someone that's like, okay, this isn't our director, this isn't our person. It'll be really interesting to see who they settle on. But also Mahershala Ali's getting a little long in the tooth.
It's 5 years. Yeah.
Day one. I mean, I think he's 50. So
Yeah.
after a little while, like he's gonna have to pass the things off to another actor. But I know we had sort of chatted about like who could take the helm of this. I'll be really curious to see how Alien Romulus turns out, because I'm like, that Fede Alvarez, that might be an interesting choice depending on how that movie turns out. But
yeah, I mean, at this point, we're looking at Mahershala Ali being using a walker instead of the day walker. Come on now. That's early.
See, that's a good audience member right there. That's a good audience member.
Michael,
support.
Two things here, Michael. One, from what Jeff said last night on the hot mic when we talked about this, Yann Demange, apparently behind the scenes, there were issues with Marvel, even though they're saying amicable departure, that apparently he was a little difficult to work with, couldn't quite get this thing broken, and that in the end they parted because it just couldn't make it happen. And then in the Hollywood Reporter, Mahershala Ali's lawyer was talking about a number of things, and this came up in the conversation. And this is her quote, Shelby Weiser. She said, that deal was in 2019, and they still haven't shot it, which is pretty much the craziest thing in my professional career. That's a recent interview. So your thoughts about all of this, Mike, and all the controversy around it and the numerous directors and writers that it's gone through just to break a movie about a dude killing vampires?
I mean, I also heard the rumors that he was difficult to work with. So yes, the amicable parting of ways is really nice speak for nope, we're done. But it's interesting because I've seen a lot of discourse about this on online all week, and everybody does agree that it is best, as Shannon said, it is best when you wait until you have the movie right. I would rather for them to wait until they have the right movie than rush something out that we all are like, well, that's hot garbage. That being said, the difference here is like, if you had one creative team and they took 5 years to make the movie, but it was the same creative team throughout,
right? You
go, okay, well, they had something they liked and they are working on it until they get it right. This is not what's happening here. This is a revolving door of writers and directors, and people come in and then they leave. And then, I mean, how many drafts of the Blade script have there been at this point? And so this is where, like, all the articles in the Marvel spin is like, hey, we're Marvel and we want to get this right. I'm like, well, no, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, this is not, I mean, I'm trying, there's examples of people who are like, we had this idea for a movie and we stuck to it, and it took us 10 years to get from the moment that we walked in to pitch the movie to the screen, but it was worth it. It's what Shannon said. It's like, well, we want a Blade movie and we have no idea what that is. So this script, this is a good idea. Let's write, nope, don't like that script. This director, I think, is going to be the one. Nope, they are not the one. Let's get out. And so every time you do that, this isn't we're being patient. We're kind of going back to square one. Or not really square one, because at a certain point you have started to build sets, you've started to bring people on board, you've started to make deals, and then you're like, hey, we want you to write this script, but we want you to write the script, and here's everything you have to work with, and here's your toy box, don't use this, figure it out. Yeah. And so at a certain point you're like, I don't know that they've got this. And look, every week that we do a show about anything, John complains about Disney or Marvel trying to make stuff young and appealing, and that they don't want to go dark.
It's an observation, not a complaint.
It's John's opinion is that Disney is always afraid of going dark, and they always are trying to make it more kid friendly. And I actually don't think that's true in Star Wars. I don't think that's true in many areas. I do think when it comes to Blade, this is one of the core problems they're having. I think that we all love the Wesley Snipes movie. It was an R-rated vampire movie that opened with a rave with blood spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know I think on the TV side, Marvel has wrapped their head around Daredevil, Born Again, and all these shows that they're like, we're going to go harder edged. We're cool with that. I don't think that Marvel and Bob Iger are willing to release an R-rated vampire movie where Mahershala Ali is slaying the fuck out of vampires. And so I think part of the problem is, how do we make this feel like Blade? How do we have a movie about a daywalker that goes around and slays vampires that also fits that big 4-quadrant superhero movie? Like, the Marvel tone and what Blade should be don't necessarily match. Like, it's not exactly right. And so I think that that's probably one of the core issues. I think you have people coming in saying, this is what we think Blade should be, this is what we want to do, and they're like, yes, do this. And then they're like, oh, whoa, we can't do all that. And you're like, well, they're vampires.
Yes, they kill people.
I don't know what to tell you. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I kind of agree with, well, I disagree with John that we're never going to see this movie, because I think at this point they have spent way too much money. They have spent 5 years of development money, of scripts and holding actors and bringing in directors. And like, there is a level of sunk costs to this that at a certain point you're like, we got to fucking make this movie and make something back. Like, so I think we're going to see it. I don't know what we're going to end up seeing.
I think it's an excellent point you break that I hadn't thought about, Michael. The idea that the mashing together of like the mixture of, you want to make it appealing to as many people as possible while also being faithful to the foundation of the character and the foundation of what the stories that were told in the comic books were. So I hadn't even thought that would be the issue here. And to be fair to Yann Demange, he may be a guy who's like, no, I want it to be R-rated. I want it to be darker. I want it to go this route. What are you guys doing? And so he becomes, quote, difficult to work with because he's not willing to go down the path that make it that weird smashing together of tones that it does bother me when it's not done organically well. I mean, Michael overstates it a little. I'm not saying it always is an issue. I'm saying case by case, you can look at certain things. When it organically works,
you guys listening can be the judge on that one.
You can be. Organically, when it works, I think it's great to the mixture of tones. When it doesn't work, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So that has been the issue I found in certain things. But Deadpool and Wolverine, I think, is a little easier to get away because that's all tongue in cheek. This is going to have more drama and hardcore edge to it. So that might be the reason why it's much, much more difficult to make this combo work. Yeah.
The hard R of Deadpool Wolverine and the hard R of what a Blade movie should be are two completely different hard Rs. I think Marvel going, hey, we're going to say fuck, we're going to make cocaine jokes, we're going to do like Marvel's good, and Deadpool being violent is almost, there's a glee to it.
Yeah, right.
A hard R vampire movie is a different beast entirely. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, this has gone through 5 other writers: Michael Green, Stacey Osei-Kuffour, Michael Starbury, Bo DeMeo, and Nick Pizzolatto have all gone through it. And now Eric Pearson is writing it. So the question becomes, who is going to take this on? Because you also both of you make excellent points here. This now becomes like negative energy. And, you know, creatives, there's not a lot of creatives who are like, oh yeah, let me walk into this shit pile and see what I can make out of it. There's not a lot of well-known creatives that would want to necessarily take this on, but there are names that could possibly be attached to this that could really change the point of view. And you have to wonder if Mahershala Ali is now at this point going like, why is my name still attached to this? This seems to be a cycle of failure. And Michael, you make an excellent point. Again, I don't think Marvel is trying to spin this thing like crazy. And I see some people on Twitter buying into the Marvel spin, going like, hey, people on Twitter, get the movie right. Also, people on Twitter, get it out as soon as possible. That's not what's happening. That's utter horseshit, and that's a really simplistic approach to the thing. That's not what's happening. What's happening is Marvel is fumbling around, trying to figure out what to do with this movie. They can't break it. They can't figure it out. They're going through multiple writers. That's dysfunction. That's not, let's wait till we get it right. Animation does, you guys know, animation does it all the time. 4 or 5 years to get the movie out, want to get it right, want to get everything squared away, and then boom, hopefully it works. So that's a different situation. So you make a good point there. But in the end, I mean, I don't know who could come in. We had some people suggesting stuff last night. I threw out Spike Lee as kind of like a way to, would be interesting to bring in an iconic filmmaker like this, hand the project over to him, let him do what he wants to do with it. And that could smooth over some of the negative vibes around this thing. But you kind of need some young, up-and-coming, hungry filmmaker or a legendary filmmaker to come in and maybe take away the stink off of it. I don't know. Any other suggestions you guys might have to be directors for this? I mean, Adele and Bilal after Bad Boys 4 could be interesting, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, look, those are all interesting. But I think you're right. I think a lot of directors coming in, I think Marvel clearly needs someone to bring in a new take on Blade.
Yeah.
But I also think that Marvel maybe has their idea of what they want this movie to be. I mean, I think the issue that we keep butting up against is like, it doesn't seem like people are allowed to kind of come in and just go, here's my fresh take on it. I think Mahershala Ali probably has opinions that he has about like, this is the kind of movie that I signed on for. This is what I want it to be. Marvel, and this, look, I like Marvel. We're Marvel fans here, but like traditionally, one of the issues Marvel is like Kevin Feige and Marvel have an opinion on this is what the movie should be. And when you're a director that comes in and goes, okay, cool, I can work with that and make it this thing. But a Spike Lee coming in and being like, cool, I'm Spike Lee. I think I'm going to take Blade and do this. I don't know that that works. I think that's like two 200-pound gorillas in a room arguing over a tiny banana, and it's not going to end well for anybody.
All right. Well, there we go. We'll see what happens, of course, with Blade, and we'll cycle back to it when it happens and have a conversation about when the new directors announce what we expect will be coming from that situation here going forward. Let's take a quick break. We'll jump into some other stories going on here in the world of entertainment right after this.
I didn't prep.
Wow. You don't even have a blade or a rock?
I got...
You're welcome. I mean, that's it right there. Mr. Vogel, please take it away. What do we got?
Yeah, well, speaking of heavy hitters, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his $7 production company has just signed a first look deal with the Walt Disney Company to develop films for theatrical and streaming. And in addition, it is a deal that is not just about film and television. It kind of is a broad-ranging developing things with the Disney Company. So in the past few years, The Rock has had a good run with Disney. Obviously, he is the voice of Maui in Moana. He will be the voice of Maui in Moana 2. He will be playing Maui in the live-action version of Moana. He also was in Jungle Cruise. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is his production company was behind the Attraction documentary series on Disney Plus, which has had 2 seasons, each episode doing a deep dive into one of the attractions in the park and the history of that attraction. It's super cute, super fun. Highly recommend if you're a Disney fan and you like going to the parks. So this is a pretty big deal. You know, it's a first look deal, which means that it's not an exclusive deal. It means they will pitch stuff to Disney first, and if Disney passes on it, they can take it anywhere else. But it does point towards the fact that Disney has a level of confidence in working with The Rock and his company, and it could be a lot of things. I mean, you know, like I said, like the obvious is, hey, here's a movie for The Rock to star in that is going to be a Disney movie, or here is an animated TV show, animated feature, and The Rock is going to lend his voice to it. Like, that's like the no-brainer. But the bigger question is, because this goes beyond just scripted programming, what reality series, Disney owns ESPN, what sports things, what things within the park, like, are we going to get The Rock behind a theme park attraction, or The Rock brings you some kind of fun event that you can do within the park? So it's a pretty big and far-ranging deal, and who knows where it's going to go. But interestingly, I mean, this is sort of post Black Adam Rock. This is post like, I told everybody I was going to remake the DC universe in my image, and my movie was going to be the biggest movie of all time. And then we were all like, that movie was a stinker. We don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then he started coming up with every reason that the movie didn't do well, aside from the fact that it was just really a bad movie. And now he started running back over to Disney and being like, all right, this is a place where I feel comfortable. I've had some relative success here. We're going to stick here for a while. So, gentlemen, I will go to Johnny first, as he is a big fan of what The Rock is cooking. And what do you think The Rock is cooking in Mickey's kitchen?
Look, The Rock is cooking. You can try to stop me, but I'm going to take over this goddamn town. And that's what I feel about The Rock. Like, look, the DC thing, yes, he flew too close to the sun. The wings got burnt off. Black Adam, he took the hit. What does he do? He runs back to the WWE. They initially don't accept him back. The fans boo him. The fans turn on him. Then he turns on the fans, gets them back on board, and they have an incredible WrestleMania main event both nights that he is a part of. It is Advanced Age Wrestling 42 minutes. incredible commitment there. So he kind of redeems himself a little bit in that way. People are talking about him in the pop culture main. Okay, what's the next step? Moana 2. Great, we're bringing it back live action. On the day we announce the full cast, including Moana live action cast, let's put this out as well, that we have signed a first look deal with Disney. What's the great way to fuck WB and DC is to go to the umbrella and the company that Marvel is under. And that is a smart move by him business-wise. And who knows? Are we going to see The Rock as a Jedi? Are we going to see The Rock in Marvel as a villain or a superhero? Who knows? But either way, this is a smart move by him to set himself up at a legendary company that does both live action, animation, kids stuff, PG-13, occasionally R stuff, and he can do his stuff. And I didn't know the behind the attraction. I didn't know he was behind that. That's amazing, because you know what he's doing at the same time? He's been doing multiple wrestling documentaries on Vice TV, his production company. So it just shows you that he has his fingers in many, many pies, and The Rock does love his pie. He has many, for those who get that reference, many pies he has his fingers in. And he used to say he loved pie as a little reference in the WWE. But all these things that you see going on with The Rock, they're all about him becoming a media mogul, essentially media mogul. So on the Hollywood Reporter made a funny, or was it the Rapper that made a joke how he could essentially put Terramana as the liquor in all the Disney parks, all the Disney cruises, all the Disney clubs and whatever. And that's like, what a deal, So this is smart business move. So whatever he's doing creatively that may not be working, and who knows if that Moana animated thing's going to work, or Moana 2 or Moana live action.
It's not
going to work. Okay, fair. But either way, at least in other areas, he is lining himself up. Because don't forget, he's also on the board of TKO, which has now moved the WWE to Netflix starting next January. So he is making money on so many different levels, and he's in multiple studios and multiple places and companies in high-level situations. So it's a smart move all around. You mentioned the sports. The UFL is under the ESPN banner, so he can do even more stuff there. So it's just a smart move overall, and it's a way to redeem his image to attach him to Disney. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him do stuff like The Game Plan again and these little Race to Witch Mountain movies, small little movies to redeem his image as he works his way back to something bigger. Shannon, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think after the debacle at WB, I mean, I think he went back to the well, and the well welcomed him back. Yeah. I think Disney is a place that The Rock, despite his immense global popularity, The Rock won't be able to go over there and boss anybody around at Disney. Like, Bob Iger is the boss there. And I think that's something that The Rock, again, learning some lessons from Black Adam's kind of like, okay, I bit off more than I could chew. Like, obviously he has a really intelligent team working with him, and the multifaceted approach that he has to business, how you said, Johnny, he's got his finger in a lot of pies. But the fact that for Disney, it's a smart sign as well, because even though his box office clout isn't what it used to be, he is still one of the most recognizable superstars in the world. And that is something that Disney likes to have, is people that it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're coming to visit a Disney park, if you see The Rock in that park, you know who that is. So I think it does make a lot of sense. And yeah, I want to say his company it was Race to Witch Mountain. Was that the first thing he did with Disney? Yeah. Did that predate when he was the was it the Tooth Fairy? That was a Disney movie, right?
It was around that time for sure. I don't know if it predates, but it was around that time for sure.
But basically, like, he does have a history of working with them, and I think at this point, after taking the bruising that he did recently theatrically, I think going back to Disney, getting under the safe shelter of the mouse is probably a smart business move.
Yeah, Race to Witch Mountain is 2009. Game Plan's 2007. He was even in an episode of Hannah Montana in 2007. So this is right around that time when he's doing these things. Tooth Fairy's 2010. So that was that window where he was establishing himself on the Disney family side of things. And then what launches him again? 2011's Fast Five. So he did his time and then boom, got that big thing. Michael?
Oh, no, I got nothing. I'm like, yeah, great.
No, you're the one that started this. I'm saying it back to you here.
No, I'm good. No, no. Look, I think that it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't think anybody. I think we all rolled our eyes at the way The Rock reacted to Black Adam bombing.
Yeah.
But I don't think Black Adam itself bombing really hurts The Rock's career. I think that hopefully somebody at some point was like, dude, stop bitching about it. The bitching about it is going to hurt you way more than the shitty box office. So a movie didn't do well. Like, keep moving. And so this does feel like the keep moving strategy. Like, just look forward. So I think that's good. We will see what he does. I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't think The Rock is as big as The Rock thinks he is, but he is pretty big. So we will see what comes out of this deal, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here.
Yeah. Marvel or Star Wars? Yes, no.
Please, God, no.
Oh, no. I think at one point he could have been in Marvel, like maybe 10, 12 years ago. I think that would have been a possibility. I don't see him going to a galaxy far, far away.
Dear God, the moment that I see, like, camera spins around, giant guy, hulking guy in Jedi robes, turns around, holds lightsaber, arches eyebrow. Like, I don't need it. I don't need it in my life ever.
What about, Marvel, is it possible that he could be, is a Doctor Doom out of the conversation? I'm just, what? It's possible. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm saying, they might consider it in a certain moment. So
I think you are wildly off base. I think if they would consider
honestly,
that.
The only thing, and it's just because this character, although this character I like in the comics, has become sort of a joke in real life. Like, look, if they want to cast The Rock as the Juggernaut in an X-Men movie, fine.
My God.
Take that. Go. Run with it. Kane Marco, go. That's fine.
What about Darth Bane? Is Darth Bane out of the realm of Are you saying no to Darth Bane? Is that what we're saying here? I don't know.
Boy.
They don't make Sith robes that big.
Star Wars in enough trouble right now without The Rock coming in, man. Just let Star Wars be for a minute. Star Wars is currently in a full geek war online right now. Like full free fall, like the entire thing is exhausting, and throwing The Rock into that mix might be one step too much for Star Wars fans on both sides.
Do you smell what the Jedi is cooking? Do you smell what the Jedi is cooking?
Oh, God. Honestly, I can barely hang on with the Star Wars discourse as it currently is this week. This is too much for me. I can't.
The midichlorian count just in his bicep. Absolutely huge.
The best. All right, let's take a quick break, and on the other side, Senor McClung is going to take us through the world of trailers right after this. I don't know. I could see a Mac and Vanessa Kirby. They were macking it on Hobbs and Shaw. It's possible. All right, I'm throwing it out there. Go ahead, Shen.
Well, Namor is the one who macs on Sue Storm, not Dr. Doom.
It's true.
Oh boy, what if The Rock had been Namor?
Oh my God! That would have worked with his Polynesian heritage. Anyway. All right.
Anywho, we got some trailers today. Our first one, we get our second look at the Wild Robot. This one stars Lupita Nyong'o and Pedro Pascal, amongst numerous other voice actors. This is from the writing team of from How to Train Your Dragon and The Croods. So this was a really, again, when this teaser came out, visually, it is a gorgeous trailer. Watching this robot who has somehow gotten lost in the wilderness start to slowly bond with these animals, and you see, the teaser was so pretty. It was what was it? What the song? It was What a Wonderful World? Is that the song that was in the teaser? Yeah. So watching that teaser, and then they show, like, there was no dialogue. They show the voice cast, and I was kind of like, man, I don't even think you needed a voice cast for this. Based off of this, I would have just watched this. And in the second trailer, we do get a glimpse at the voice cast and the way that they introduced the concept of how this robot is going to communicate with a bunch of animals. It works. And Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, this just looks like such a delightful movie. I would go as far to say they maybe showed a little too much in the trailer. It clocked in around 2:45. I'd have shaved about 30 seconds off because it seems like we are seeing a lot of the movie. But what we are seeing, to me, looks really, really promising. But I'll throw it over to you, gentlemen. Mr. Vogel, what did you think of our second look at the wild robots?
I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I thought it looked amazing. A lot of times when we review a teaser trailer and then we get to the full trailer, like there's not a lot more to talk about. But like you said, I think this did show a lot more of the story of the movie. Yeah. And this not just the writing team, but this comes like from director Chris Sanders, who did How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. And he's talked a lot about this is based on a series of books, and what drew him to this series of books was the earnestness of the story. And I think, we live in pretty wild times and we're all pretty divided, and a lot of us can be really cynical. And there's a lot of stories that come out right now that talk about how bad things are and how divided things are. And so when you see something like this that just has this very sweet earnestness to it and it works, it doesn't feel syrupy. It feels like something that we're missing right now. And I think that that's kind of what I came away from this trailer is like, there is just this energy to this movie that just is like, yeah, that's like a core emotional thing. And when you look at movies like How to Train Your Dragon, like Lilo and Stitch, that has sort of withstood the test of time as far as like what those stories are, it's because there's like a core of like emotional truth to them. And I think that's what is in this show. Look, the animation looks beautiful. The design looks amazing. Like I think it's, unless these trailers are completely fooling us, I think it's a pretty sure bet that this will be like a award season nominee for best animated feature. And yeah, it just looks fantastic. I'm really, really excited to go see it.
What do you think, Johnny? You ready to go to the wild with a robot?
Yeah. I mean, I loved the animation here, and the fact that it's the How to Train Your Dragon people, which have low key made one of the greatest trilogies in the history of film, animated or live action, with that How to Train Your Dragon series. The fact that they're on top of this, I think gets me really excited to see what the end result. And yes, as Michael said, we got a lot more dialogue. We got a lot more understanding of what this is about. It has shades of WALL-E, shades of Baymax, shade of Big Hero 6, shades of these things that we've seen before, but in completely new environments and interesting new takes and approaches, and the animals talk. So that's going to be interesting. And this is a story about him or Lupita Nyong'o's robot character essentially being thrust into a mother/father role, a parent role, for this Gosling and what that leads to. And clearly they're out in the wild for quite some time because the Gosling grows up by the end of the trailer. So this is going to be an interesting situation when the other robots show up to try to either deprogram it or destroy it or pull it back into its company. So there's a lot of different elements moving here that we didn't see in the first teaser that I think excites me even more to see in the movie once it comes out. And Lupita is doing a really nice job voiceover wise, adjusting her voice to fit what this character might be. And I like that a lot. Yeah.
Again, the trailer, it was just kind of gorgeous. And I think, as Vogel already said, I mean, this seems like it could probably be nominated for some statues in the future, but we will all find out when the wild robot comes out, September 27th. Now, in between our stories, I was humming Domo Arigato, Mr. Abato. You thought it was just about the first trailer. Nope, it's about the second one too. Every once in a while, I'll pick a trailer and I get a little bit of pushback. Like, are we sure we want to talk about this? And I said, for this one, absolutely. Because we got to see the first trailer for Sunny. I didn't know what this series was before yesterday, but this stars Rashida Jones, where she plays an American woman living in Japan, and a domestic robot named Sunny, who was made by her husband's company, and who her husband and son died in a mysterious plane crash. And we get to find out that not all robots are good. Some of these robots can be bad. So, Johnny, I'll throw it over to you first. You saw the trailer the most recently. What did you think of our first look at Sunny?
I was really impressed by it. Because, look, Apple TV does not get the love and affection and respect that it deserves to get for so many of its shows. I mean, remember Masters of the Air? Poof. Franklin I've started 3 episodes. Franklin's fantastic. Poof. there's so many great shows that come through the Apple TV machine that hardly ever get talked about in the level that we're going to talk about The Boys or these other shows from other streaming services. And it becomes a situation where I don't understand why. Are people just so like in awe of it, or they just look at it like, oh, that's like really important shit, I don't want to watch it? I don't know, because there's great stuff here. This looks fantastic. This looks really interesting. A mixture of Eastern and Western cultures in this dark comedy, I guess you would call, or humanist comedy that you would look at here.
Quirky.
A dramedy, quirky, sure, quirky dramedy here in how they're dealing with the robot situation. The fact that the robot is connected to her husband who has died. What is this all about? There's also a mystery of what he was doing at this company. I mean, there's some really interesting moments throughout the trailer of her trying to figure out what's going on here. And this is from Katie Robbins, who was a writer on The Affair. And The Affair certainly was a series that took you up and down in interesting places. So in terms of the human relationship. So I think this is one that was not on my radar at all. As you said, when you put it on the rundown, I was like, what is this? I don't know if we should talk about this. Then I watched the trailer. I was like, no, we should talk about it. It's really cool. So I love it. And Rashida Jones, who I, again, also think like Apple gets nowhere near the respect that she deserves as an actress, and actually has gotten even better than when you first got to know her, like Parks and Rec and other stuff. She's an even better actress now, which I think is going to be fun to watch and really enjoy and savor when you watch her in this show.
Mikey, does a potentially murderous robot make you feel sunny?
No, we'll say partly cloudy. It's fine. I think the issue, it looks good, and I agree with John that Apple has a lot of great content. And look, they definitely spend the money. They spend the money on the cast. They spend the money on the screen. Everything looks really good. I think my thing with this trailer is it's kind of what as Johnny was talking about. He was like, it's a murder mystery, quirky comedy, murder robot, and I think that's the issue with the trailer. Is I watched it and I was like, okay, so what is this? Am I supposed to be more into the intrigue of this mystery? Is this kind of a quirky, fun kind of take on a killer robot? Like, is the robot a killer? Is it not? Like, I don't know. There was some tracks with some blood. And look, not that a trailer has to lay out everything about the story. Sometimes a trailer comes out and gives you very little, and you're like, oh, I'm really intrigued. But what a trailer does give you is a feeling of, oh, this is definitely a comedy. This is definitely a suspense thriller. This is definitely this. Right. And that's what a really good editor does when they cut a film down. You don't need the full plot. You don't need to know every detail of the movie, but you need to know the vibe. Mm-hmm. And watching this trailer, I kind of came out and I went, okay, I'm not really sure what the vibe is. Like, will I watch it? Yeah, possibly. Like, if everybody's like, oh my God, Sunny was crazy, you should check it out, I'll watch it. And I might come out and go, oh, I see why they couldn't really give the vibe without giving stuff away. So, like, there's always that possibility. But right now, the trailer was like, fine.
Huh.
Wow.
Well, if you need your entertainment, the plot's told specifically what they are about, maybe Sunny is not for you. But if you're like me and Johnny, who like a little bit of mystery, a little bit of quirk, a little bit of Japan, Sunny comes out July 10th on Apple. And that brings us to our last trailer, which is another property that is straight up the middle. You know exactly what it is. And this is the first teaser for the second season of Arcane League of Legends for Netflix. This first series came out, and it was like it was shot out of a cannon. In terms of the animation, this was just something that I feel like we're not used to seeing on television. I was not familiar with League of Legends, but the world building that they did with the story of Vi and Jinx, I mean, it was just shockingly addictive. Like, I had to know what else was going to happen. And especially at the end of the first season, which if you haven't watched the first season, we won't spoil it for you, but it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I will throw it over to Mr. Vogel first. What did you think of our first look at the second season of Arcane?
I mean, look, Arcane was so huge that I think they could have released a trailer and had like 3 shots in it, and it could have been 30 seconds long, and we would have lost our shit. But seeing this, it looks amazing. I mean, look, League of Legends, the thing that's great about Arcane Season 1 is it kind of did double duty. Like it took the characters from League of Legends and kind of it interpreted them into this big epic sweeping story that made fans of League of Legends really happy, but also made people who had never even played League of Legends and knew nothing about it go, this is an amazing world. And that's awesome. Yeah. And then working with animation studio Fortiche, like they created something that none of us have ever seen before. I mean, like, and they raised the bar of what you can do in animation almost to the detriment of everybody else, because then everybody wants something that looks like Arcane, and that's a fucking expensive show. Like it's a level of artistry that we don't usually see in TV animation because they spent so much money and really pushed the boundaries of what you can do, but it really, really paid off for them. You know, the disappointing part about this trailer is that we're getting a trailer for a TV show, and it's the last season of Arcane. Like, they've already announced that season 2 is the last season. So there's no Arcane after season 2, but they did come out and say it's just the beginning of them exploring this world. So they sort of had an idea of where the Arcane story was going to end. We get to the end of that story of Vi and Jinx, I'm assuming, at the end of season 2, but they already say that they're working with Fortiche on a bunch of other stuff within this universe. So hopefully, Arcane season 2 delivers, which based on the trailer, it looks like it's going to. And like, honestly, based on the storytelling in season 1, I have like very little concern or doubt that they're going to stick the landing. And hopefully coming on the heels of season 2, we get a bunch of announcements about the other things that they're going to do, because this animation style and this world is so rich that I hope that we get to spend a lot more time in it.
Johnny, you played in a movie trivia league. Some of the folks will call you a legend.
Oh, Jesus.
What did you think of our first look at Arcane season 2?
Legends come cheap nowadays. I will say this. I did not watch this trailer because I have not seen the first season. So I didn't want to ruin anything for myself until I watched the first season.
How have you not watched Arcane season 1?
I am making my way through Blue-Eyed Samurai right now, which I will finish probably by tomorrow, and then I will start Arcane. So I did not want to ruin my anything. So you guys talk about it. It's great. The fact that you didn't spoil anything, I really appreciate, because I kind of want to savor this trailer. This movie, the series rather, fully without any kind of spoilers and dive into it. And no one's really spoiled anything for me, which I am very lucky that I've kind of avoided. So I'm looking forward to it, because Blue-Eyed Samurai is effing awesome right now. And everybody who suggested 4 episodes in, everybody who suggested that I watch this thing, you were all right. And I was completely wrong for not jumping on it immediately. I would have reviewed the hell out of this thing. So yeah, it's fantastic. So I'm looking forward. And Arcane looks to be fantastic as well. So I can't wait to dive into that as well.
If you are an animation fan like me, feel free in the comments to make fun of John for how long it takes him to watch animated shows versus the live action shows. Has he watched Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra yet? No. Has he watched Arcane yet? No. Am I thrilled he's watching Blue-Eyed Samurai? Yes. But definitely give him shit in the comments below. Thank you so much.
And all you Apple TV watchers, come after Vogel as well for all the stuff.
Okay, the 5 of you that are watching Apple TV, come for me. Everybody else go after John.
Fair point. All you Sunny fans, go after him. Anyway.
Okay. That felt like an affront. Anyways, Arcane season 2 it drops in November 2024 in the fall.
Oh, I got some time to catch up. Nice.
You got time. You got time to watch Arcane, and you have time to watch The Last Airbender and Korra, if you really wanted to do it.
Fair point. All right, well, let's take a break, and we're going to jump into and this is the moment, we're going to jump into our spoiler review of The Boys season 4 episodes 1 through 3. So if you want to dip out now and go watch the episodes, come back and hang out with the rest of the show, feel free. If not, keep watching. We'll be right back right after this.
Ba-doo-doo-doo. Ba-boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'm always a little confused on whether or not I can say the lyrics, because I don't want us to get dinged.
No, I was going to say I actually play the lyrics and actually play the song. That's the only times we get dinged.
So I would have said the boys are back. The boys are back in town.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. All right, let's get into this thing. Spoiler review.
Your hands are clapping, but your face is not.
The Boys season 4 is upon us, and they have come back. Eric Kripke and the crew have come back hardcore with 3 episodes. We just had the Acolyte 2-episode premiere, but a 3-episode, 3-hour premiere in essence. Incredible decision by The Boys season 4. And I want to say right off the bat, damn, they did not disappoint. What a hell of a return for these 3 episodes. Eric is absolutely going in and commentating on what is going on in our political world. What's wrong? What did I say?
No, I'm thinking of the episode, moments from the episode.
Yeah.
I'm getting tickled.
He's certainly dialing into what's going on politically in our country, and as we've seen all over the world, some more of the right-wing factions and things of that nature. But it's very clear that he has chosen a side, and the show itself, I think, more than ever, has really leaned in on choosing a side in this portrayal. And we're back with Homelander dealing with Ryan. The actor has certainly gotten older, so he's had more time here, and in your mind time passes and what have you, and he is under Homelander's kind of parenting control, so to speak. Butcher's trying to make up for things with Ryan, but he's also on a time clock, because as Homelander points out in episode 1, he can see what's going on here. Starlighter and Huey are figuring things out. Huey's dad has a stroke, Simon Pegg there, and then his mom shows up. So what's the mom situation? Mom involved with Vote by a ancillary company, so to speak. Then we have Victoria Newman, who is now one heartbeat away from being the president. And we're seeing some interesting levels with her in these first 3 episodes, and what's going on with her interactions with Zoe, but interactions with Huey. I'm thinking about in the van there. Frenchie is starting a new relationship with Colin, and Kamiko and Frenchie are dealing with the fact that their breakup is kind of affecting Kamiko a little more than Colin. Then you have, or a little more than Frenchie, and then you have the situation with Mother's Milk, who, by the way, he looks like he has slimmed down, or the beard being off of him makes him look thinner than ever, but he looks fantastic. And his situation here with Todd, and what happened with Jeannie, what happened with his ex-wife. And then we throw in the new characters of Sage and Firecracker, and Sister Sage has immediately become one of my favorite characters in the first 3 episodes. And you can't ignore the allusions to a black person helping a limited white man become successful, as we've seen more and more black Republicans or black conservatives come out in favor of Trump, and Homelander is in essence a stand-in for Trump. So it's a fascinating first 3 episodes for sure, with buttholes, with human centipedes as well, and some crazy blood and gore as well. So Mike, I go to you first. What do you think of the first 3 episodes of The Boys, and what are your thoughts here overall?
I think the sign of a great TV show is it's all a balancing act. Like you wanna say something about the world. You want to have engaging characters that you care about. You want to have like big water cooler moments that everyone's going to talk about. You want to know what the essence of your show is. Like, look, as much as Shannon makes fun of me for thinking that the Sunny trailer didn't really know what it was, The Boys is such a perfect example of a show that knows exactly what it is and gives it to you each week. And look, in just these 3 episodes of this season, I mean, every single main character, and you just kind of went through it, has a specific thing that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like every single one of them has a specific thing that they're dealing with, while at the same time, there is an overarching story going on about what's going on with the season, and Victoria Newman kind of getting close to the White House, and like where, and Homelander kind of trying to basically incite a coup, as Sister Sage says. And while they're doing all of that and giving us all of this commentary on real world stuff, they're still telling us a very engaging superhero story in a superhero world that's unlike any other superhero world that we have. So like on any level that you want to discuss this show, you want to discuss the acting, you want to discuss the way it's shot, you want to discuss the writing, you want to discuss the effects, you want to discuss the level of violence, you want to discuss the political commentary. Every single one of these in these 3 episodes is firing on all cylinders. And there's something so, to me, saying you're relaxed watching The Boys is probably the wrong word to use. But when I watch The Boys, there is this, when I watch a Star Wars show, I watch it with a high level of anxiety, because I'm watching it and going, oh, well, these people are going to like this, but these people aren't going to like this. And I'm going to go on Twitter and they're going to yell about this. And you kind of go, it's like you're gearing up for a fight. When I watch The Boys, I'm just like, this is fucking great. It's just great. And I love it. Yes. I mean, Homelander is Trump. Like, I know there's no, like, that's the story that they have chosen to tell. Yeah. Homelander is Trump. But yeah, the new characters, Firecracker, I focusing on those 2 just very quickly. I think that Firecracker and Sister Sage are such great additions to this world and what both like the superhero version of it, but also the political commentary version of it. Like taking a character like Firecracker, who has made her name spouting every possible conspiracy theory that she can, and that putting her in a position of power. She might not have a bleached blonde built butch body, but it's pretty clear who they're like, it's pretty clear where she's coming from.
That's a good point.
And then Sister Sage, one of my favorite things in a superhero universe when it's done well is having the character whose superpower is how smart they are. And that works when it's Reed Richards. That works when it's Sister Sage. It works when it's Brainiac. Like, I love her coming into this situation. And Johnny, you're right. It is very clear. You have a white person in power who is so narcissistic and sociopathic that he's got everyone around him kowtowing to everything he says, and he wants somebody who's going to actually call him on his shit, but at the same time he doesn't like being called on his shit. And you put a black female there next to him. It's such a interesting dynamic, and watching her be infinitely smarter than everybody else in the room, but even she can't control Homelander. Like, even she, with all of her smarts, you're all in danger when you have this sociopath at the center of everything, and that commentary is very clear as well. So I think they're just killing it this season so far.
Shannon, your thoughts on these first 3 episodes, brother?
Yeah, if there were any mystery as to what side of the political spectrum this show is on this season, which it's shocking to me, especially when the show started, how you had folks on both sides being like they love the show and like, see, I'm right. The realization from one side is like, oh, wait a minute, they're portraying us as the bad guys. Fuck this show. What Kripke and his team have done, the dialogue is just crackling.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just so it's like Sorkin level to me. It's music, but with syllables. Anthony Starr's Homelander, I don't know what his career looks like after this show, because he is just so identifiable as this character. Like, he popped up in that Guy Ritchie movie, The Covenant, with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it was a small role, and he was perfectly fine. But the whole time I'm thinking, oh man, Homelander, what you doing undercover right now? But he's just so good. The moment where he grabs Ryan when they're at that rally, and just with the most venom laced in his voice as he whispers, "Smile." Like, it is so threatening. And the crazy thing about him as an antagonist, as the bad guy, is we love to watch him. Like, we love it when he loses, but when he wins, we kind of like it as well, because there's just something about this character that is so magnetic. And along with Firecracker and Sister Sage, bringing in Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Who, is one of Butcher's old CIA contacts. The casting team for this show deserves so much credit, because the people that they introduce into this world, some of them are like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who we have known for years. And some are they're not newcomers. I mean, they've worked for a long time, but the actresses playing Sister Sage and Firecracker. Rosemary DeWitt, in indie film darling, coming in to play Huey's mom. Every line that they deliver is just so believable. It's so authentic. And especially when there are some other shows out right now that the acting consistently gets dinged, you watch what they do in The Boys. And granted, these are very different shows. And very, very different challenges bringing these worlds to life. But you see what the actors and the writers and the directors are able to do with this show, and it is just so watchable. I finished episode 3. I'm like, God, I want to go to episode 4, just because the world, the interactions, it's just so intoxicating.
Yeah, I mean, and I love what, because clearly the first 3 episodes are making a very strong statement politically, but they're also investigating this thing that we have also become more open to investigate in our shows lately, and that is personal trauma. Each one of them is going through some personal trauma, right? With Butcher, it's I'm seeing Becca again, and I'm going to die, and I want to repair this thing with my son. And certainly the 3rd episode, when they have that heart-to-heart where they finally put their defenses down and have honest conversations with each other is really devastating, man. And also with Ryan is suffering from social anxiety disorder. So to have a guy who's has social anxiety disorder, but also a super, and he's had this really fucked up upbringing with a crazy dad, a mom who's loving, and a stepfather who was there, but then turned on him. Like, it's a lot to put on a kid's shoulders, right? So you have that he's navigating and dealing with. With Starlighter, it's like she's trying to transition to be Annie January. She has this group of people that she's in charge of, but this idea of dealing with identity is there throughout. Huey with his mom, and then his dad having the situation happen to him. So he's dealing with the guilt of the trauma of his dad having a stroke, who called him and he didn't pick up the phone, and the guilt of that. And now his mom is back in town and his mom has power of attorney. How is that going to play itself out? With Mother's Milk, I love the fact that you have this idea of how his daughter was in love with Todd being a guy who is a homeland lover, home teamer. There's no way that's not going to play out something for him and deal with his trauma of a broken family there and how he navigates all of that. And so there's just so much that you're seeing explored with all of this, not to mention Homelander. And Michael, you make an excellent point. This is, and Shannon as well, the micro emotions on Anthony Starr's face is so fascinating. And the smart thing they did, make him aware of the fact that he's aging. The gray hairs, even on a super, can affect him.
Keeping a jar of your gray pubes is very upsetting to me on multiple levels. I just it bothered me. It bothered me in several ways.
We also know that Homelander doesn't manscape.
Yeah, it clearly doesn't manscape as well. But yeah, putting that jar next to a picture of his Nazi parents, like, it's just like, what the fuck, man? So yeah.
But I do think you're absolutely right about everything you're saying, but I do think it's worth pointing out that in an age where a lot of shows come out and people get upset that, like, why are you focusing on this or that, or making this statement or making that statement? I think the reason that The Boys, you don't see a lot of people coming out and be like, whoa, why is it this, or why is it woke, or why is it all about trauma, is because everything that you just mentioned is actually also tied intrinsically to the story.
Yes.
Like Huey 100%. And his mom.
Yes.
Huey's mom coming into this thing, for example, is so great to me because you have this thing coming in and you're like, well, this is about superheroes and it's a political commentary. Why the fuck do I care about Huey's mom? Except that Huey is currently in a situation where he's dealing with, am I going to be able to work with A-Train? The guy who in the first episode ran through my girlfriend. Can I forgive this person? Right. Oh, let's put a character here that you also can't forgive and that you have a level of trauma with. So it's tied to the story. Frenchie dealing with this relationship with Colin that he finds himself in. And at first you think, is he having a hard time because it's a guy? And you're like, oh no, you're an assassin and you killed his whole family. Oh, this is a thing for you to deal with. So on every level, and even what we're saying about Homelander and Sister Sage and putting a black, highly intelligent woman next to a white narcissistic sociopath and just going boom, it's like, yeah, but it's like she's a super genius and he's basically Superman. Like, you might as well be putting Lex Luthor and Superman next to each other and seeing what happens. Like, so it's just on every level, it's touching on, it's using issues of identity, issues of trauma, issues of all of these kind of, political commentary, right versus left, but it's weaving it into this like fascinatingly intricate superhero story in the superhero world. It's really all about Vought and Homelander. And even with Ryan, like, what do you do? Like, this kid is going to be, this kid could either be the person that defeats Homelander, or he could be the next Homelander. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming in playing the role of Butcher from season 1. Like, Butcher now in season 4 is like a kinder, gentler, I care too much for this kid, I'm not going to be the fucking piece of shit who just does whatever needs to be done to take out supers. So what do? You introduce the character that is the motherfucker who doesn't care and is going to take out supers. Like, every piece of it is just really good storytelling. And so that's why it doesn't feel like they are cramming some other issue in. And
throw in the Deep dealing with the fact that he's in love with Tilda Swinton as an octopus. And I mean, that Ambrosius, that scene at the end of the first episode, I was like, I hate the fucking Deep because he has no spine, literally no spine. But I also feel sympathy for this fucker at times. And that moment when he's sitting there talking to her, she's like, we could go away. We could go into the ocean. It could just be you and me. And it's like, of course the Deep finds love with another species. And he can't do this. He cannot commit to this situation. He could easily leave if he wanted to, but something keeps him here, which is either the trauma of what his upbringing, or the need to belong, or want to have some power, whatever it may be. And then you juxtapose that humorous situation, darkly humorous situation, with A-Train's situation. You brought up, Michael, A-Train being confronted by his brother and saying, like, he's making these moves and making these decisions, but his brother in essence saying to him, who have you really saved? What have you done for our community? How have you represented by being in service to this white man in this fucking situation? So there's even that exploration of the cultural impact of that as a black person in his community, representing himself on the 7. So there's so much to balance everything out that it is a literally human tableau, because most of us live life with the mixture of drama and humor and madness in our lives. And it's crazy what pops up.
And it's another, I think one of the reasons that The Boys works tonally is that it takes the ridiculous but writes it as the serious. And what I mean by that is, take this whole fucking Deep and Tilda Swinton the octopus thing. Like, it's fucking insane.
It is.
He's got a fucking tank in the back of his closet with his girlfriend in it, basically. But the way that it's written, I have this relationship with somebody who I deeply care about, who I don't want everyone to know that I'm with because they frown upon it.
Right.
And she's feeling a little bit like I'm ignoring her. And I'm like, no, babe, I love you, but it's just weird right now. Like, the whole scene is written 100% seriously.
Yeah.
But then we watch it, and he's talking to an octopus. Like, the whole thing is insane. And even that's what they've done consistently with the world of superheroes. Like, yeah, is it fun seeing, in last season, a fucking superhero orgy, or in this season, the fucking pink eye train that we saw in the second episode?
Yes.
Like,
Splinter.
The Boys knows that we are coming for, we want to be shocked. We want to see things we've never seen before. We want to really push the envelope. But at the core of all of it, it's like, yeah, okay, this is a guy that's working for this woman who is a conspiracy theorist, and he's just in love with her because she's so hot and pretty. And how many of the people that are on TikTok and on YouTube that are doing these things are attractive people that are getting a bunch of followers because they're obsessed with them and then believe everything they say. So everything has a grain of truth into it, even though it's being written in the most ridiculous way possible.
Yeah, Shannon, what are your thoughts on Sister Sage? Because, I know Michael made a reference to that, she can't even control him, but I don't know if she doesn't have her own, how can I say, plans, so to speak. Because in the first episode, she calls them mouth breathers, right? So in essence, they almost see human beings in the same way, in that there is no empathy either from Homelander or from Sister Sage, because she sees them as things that she can use. Occasionally we see her kind of have some trepidation on her face, but is that trepidation because she doesn't want to do this, or trepidation because she's worried that the plans might not pull off, because she has an ultimate overall goal? So that is going to be an interesting battle throughout the whole season, I think, as we go forward. It's not as simple as just he's going to laser her, which she offered him to do in the first episode. I think there's more to come from what plans. She may become the most worst version of what Homelander is, because she can actually carry it out. And isn't that what we're afraid of when we look at Trump? Is that there's somebody, if somebody with Trump's ability to do but was smarter, that would scare the hell out of so many people. So is she standing in for that, I wonder, in that approach?
Well, it's interesting, and not to get political for half a second.
Sure.
But during when the Republicans were trying to figure out who their nominee was going to be, and I think that's what a lot of people were afraid of with Ron DeSantis, is that this is Trump, but this is a guy who might be who is smarter.
Right.
And then we find out he's has an utter lack of charm, and people are like, oh, I don't like you. Yeah. And that's kind of Sister Sage. I mean, she's incredibly intelligent, but even as she's being introduced on stage, as they're introducing the new members of the 7, it's just like, oh, you have no charisma up there. But her scenes with the individual characters, again, are just so enjoyable to watch. Everything that she has with Homelander, you can see Homelander's smart enough to know that he's not smarter than her.
Yeah.
And right now his dignity is being held back by the fact is I need this woman to help me. I need this person to help me because I know she's smarter than I am. Her scene with Ashley or rather when she witnesses Ashley talk to the deep the way that she does, it's like, why would you let her speak to you like this? You are better. You are her evolutionary superior. But then the moment that the deep comes in and asked him if she wants to watch Transformers 2, the one with the terrible stereotypical black characters. And as they start making out, you see there's a bloody pic on the coffee table. It's like, oh my God, did you lobotomize yourself so you could hook up with this dude? Because even though you're the smartest person in the world, you still get horny from time to time. It'll be interesting to see what the next episode is, if her incredible brain has some sort of regenerative capabilities, because I doubt that this is the last we've seen of the conniving Sister Sage. But just a fantastic character to introduce, and that's something that they do with all their characters. The ones that they introduce, the new villains, the new heroes. Everyone is unique. Everyone has such a distinct point of view, and again, that's such a nod to, or so much credit needs to go to Kripke and the writing team, because again. This is, I imagine you could look at a script from The Boys and cover the character names, and you would know who's talking just by the way that they speak.
That's a great point. And even with the people who are coming back, they find them unique. A third version of Noir, and this one can actually talk. So it's like,
oh my God, it's so funny.
What the fuck? Michael, you were going to jump in. What were you going to say there?
No, just to clarify, because I don't. When I say Sister Sage is trying to control Homelander, I don't think because she has any altruistic, like, I'm going to keep this guy in check for the good of the world.
No.
Like,
I mean, you were saying that you weren't sure if she could control him because he's got like some crazy tenets.
She can't. Like, I mean, that's the point. I mean, I think one of the reasons that she maybe lobotomized herself or did something with that pick is that you see it consistently, like they come in and say, like, the whole team comes in and says, oh, Ryan should be like your sidekick, and she's like, that's fucking stupid, you need to let him stand on his own, and he's like, oh, okay, and then he immediately can't do it. Like Ryan goes out there and Homelander shows up, and then they're like interrogating that girl, and they're like, hey, so what did Starlight ask you for? And he's like, well, okay, so she asked me, and then he lasers her, and she's like, hey, that would have been good information. And he's like, okay, sorry, whatever. Like, she recognizes that whatever plans she has, which don't seem to be good, she can't do it. But then the other person that I would say I'm really intrigued by is Victoria Newman. Yes. I think the whole Victoria Newman story is really, really interesting as well, just because here's a character that you could have easily just turned into a very one note, oh, you're secretly a super and you're going to blow up anybody's head. But the relationship that she has with Homelander, the relationship that she has with Huey, and the relationship she has with the guy running for president who, she has to work with, like, it's all so cat and mouse, what we can say, what we can't say, that I find myself liking her as a character, even though I know that she doesn't have the best plans for everybody either. Like, I just find, I think that's the thing, is like what Shannon said about Homelander, is this is a show where you have the characters that are the good guys, and you have the characters that are the bad guys, and then you have a bunch of characters that kind of can fall in between that somewhere, depending on like which way they're pushed. But all of them are really interesting and fully fleshed out characters that are being performed amazingly well. So everyone is fun to watch.
And even we're getting even new layers to the characters we've known for a while, because with Firecracker coming in, there's this past to Starlighter, that to Annie, this bitch girl past from her being a mean girl. I guess I'm trying to bitch mean girl past that we didn't know about. Now that's being brought to the forefront. And how is that going to be exposed? Is more of that going to be shown? Where we're going to see her access that? And so that's a fascinating thing to confront, and add a new layer here to Annie January, which I like, because immediately you could have dismissed Firecracker, but because she has this history with Starlighter, then there's like, oh, this is intriguing. What are we going to see from this? And she's the one apologizing to Firecracker. So you're like, oh, that's an interesting twist and whatever. And of course, A-Train having the relation with Sage from when they were teens, it's kind of like they were all on the Nickelodeon set together. So how is that going to play itself out? So there's just a lot here that is fascinating that they're presenting, that is exciting. And I see some reviews that have been a little bit like, oh, it's retreading old territory. I'm like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. This is so exciting, these first 3 episodes, and electric as I was watching it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it does feel like a continuation of what we've been seeing, but I think that's, we went from, season 1 of this just being a new idea, season 2, Stormfront, season 3, Soldier Boy. And we sort of like, we've added in, and now it's Firecracker and Sister Sage. We've added these new characters that sort of change the dynamic as Homelander has been on this steady stream of like, this is ultimately the story about how God loved the DC universe because Superman is actually a good guy. Yeah. But somebody with Superman's level of powers, if he decides, like, it's basically, what if Superman was Trump? Like, what if Trump had Superman's powers? That's what this show is. And it basically is making the point that, like, there's nobody to stop this. Like, this is a one-way train to disaster. And what's interesting is, out of our two main characters, you got Butcher, you got Homelander, and you got Ryan sitting in the middle. And ultimately, this entire show comes down to Ryan is going to be the key to all this. Like, this is, so even watching Butcher go through this whole process. And again, this is where I think the Jeffrey Dean Morgan character is really interesting, is that Butcher season 1 would have drugged that kid. Yeah. Would have figured out a way to get him to eat those cookies. And so Butcher going, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this in a different way. And becoming this kind of protector, and Homelander going like, Ryan, you got to do what I want you to do. Like, that, out of everything else that we're talking about, that triangle is the key to what the rest of this season and season 5 is going to be about, I think. Yeah.
And even Butcher sending a butthole instead of the files. I mean, that was the moment. I mean, it's a great twist, because you're thinking, well, you son of a bitch, you used his father having a stroke to steal the files out of his pocket, you sack of shit. And then you see Becca come in, and then you see him make that decision. You're like, damn, okay, this is so great that it twists and turns and pulls you in different directions, and then and turns it back. But we got to get your thoughts, gentlemen, on putting the Christ back in Christmas song. I mean, is this on your workout mix? Where is this song right now?
It's a good song.
As our most God believer on the show, Shannon, I've got to go to you first here, man. Christ in Christmas.
This is the type of song I would not be shocked if some of my family had on their playlist. I mean, the whole concept of Vought on Ice, that you have these superheroes ice skating with Jesus. I mean, the whole thing, like in Orlando, and any of our audience who has ever lived in Central Florida in the last 30 years, at one point they had a Christian theme park called the Holy Land, which I remember that. I don't believe it is in operation anymore, but watching Vought on Ice, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like the Holy Land. So yeah, I mean, whoever, I don't know who the credited lyricist is, but they did a very, very good job, because that song, even though it's being played for comedy, when you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's like, absolutely, there are folks that are true believers that are like, this song, this is the rallying cry. We're taking the season back. Yeah, man, that was all 3 episodes had some pretty big moments, but that one I was just like, I can feel myself sinking into the couch.
I mean, and this is where, look, the political leanings of this show are clear, but Vought and Homelander sort of standing for classic American values. Like, we don't say Happy Holidays, we say Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, Homelander saying, oh, all of these non-binary Starlight fans want your trans this and that, and like them believing in the Pizzagate, and like, oh, Starlight is like selling children, like even in episode 2 when they go to like the whole sort of truther convention, and you're seeing all the conspiracy theories, like it's not subtle. I'll say that it's not subtle, but there's something super enjoyable about seeing it. And then, because it's the boys, you have this song that is actually a fully quality musical theater song with lyrics that I'm just like, oh God. But to have that then turn into the most graphically violent oh my God, I didn't know an ice skate could wield that much damage accidentally sequence after that. It's just, that's the boys. It's like, hey, here's some political commentary about what this superhero show on ice is going to be, but then let's slice people's fingers and have someone just get like sliced in half by Homelander, and you're like, oh, yep, it's the boys. It's
I mean, that scene
that
was fully dialing into the neuroses I had the first time I went ice skate. I'm like, what if I fall and someone skates over my hand? That was just all of my nightmares coming to life.
And that's only, and to be honest with you, I've watched the NHL for many, many years, and there's only ever been a couple of instances where you've actually seen blood on the ice from an ice skate hitting a neck. And that shows you like how careful everybody is about those blades. So to have it used in this way, I think Shannon, you're absolutely right. It absolutely signals your trauma of being on ice skates and seeing these sharp things on ice and people falling down all over the place, winging their legs around when they fall. They could totally cut you up. But the song is produced by the show's composer, Christopher Leonards, and Alex Karukas, but it's performed by Shoshana Bean, who is a very well-known Broadway singer, Andrew Reynolds, and James Monroe Englehart. So that is the track, which you guys can go listen to again on YouTube. That's there, but that's who made that song. And there is an actual song called "Put the Christ Back in Christmas" from Tammy Wynette from years and years ago. So the fact that they used the title again for this, I thought was genius. But Michael, I want to hit your point, and then we should probably roll on out of here because we've been talking about it for 30 minutes. But like, this is, I love subtlety. I appreciate subtlety. I'm a fan of subtlety when it's done well. But sometimes a show that is just like, boom, this is what it is, motherfucker, and this is what it's about. Deal with it. I appreciate that, because especially when it's done artistically well, like this one is, as opposed to some of those that are a bit annoying because they're like, do you get what we're talking about? This is more like, bang, this is actually happening, blurring the lines between fiction and reality in uncomfortable ways that I kind of really enjoy. So when you say that it's like, there's no subtlety here, you're absolutely right.
Well, I mean, again, just getting back to my original point, and the reason that I enjoy it is because if all they were doing was commentary, if it was just a show's like, hey, here's a superhero world, but like, here's politics and here's what we're saying, there's a level of enjoyment to that, but I think you'd really quickly get bored with it. I don't think we'd be excited about season 4 and sad that it's going to end at season 5. The reason it works is because you name any one of these characters. You want to talk about A-Train, you want to talk about Huey, you want to talk about Starlight, you want to talk about Butcher, you want to talk about Mother's Milk. Like, you just go down the list, and all of them are compelling and interesting characters with actual stories to tell. So watching these actual stories unfold in a highly satirical, politically charged universe, that's the full package, and that's why it's fun.
Yeah, agree. Shannon, any final words or anything we missed? Do you want to make sure we highlight those first 3 episodes?
The things that the boys' version of things that they add, like the Vought fighting game, mean, between Lamplighter and Crimson Countess, that 100% looks like another realm game. The moment that Ryan realizes that all of the saves, it's like they're shooting a TV show. Everything is fabricated, everything is fake. The moment that poor stunt coordinator is like, Ryan, it's okay to hit me a little harder, I can take it. I'm like, well, that guy's dead.
Yeah.
But just everything that they're able to inject. I mean, again, not the most nuance, but everything that they're able to inject. Again, it's just so entertaining. Like, I've never gone back and done a rewatch of The Boys. I always just do like a recap. But this is a show that is very easy. I imagine would be very easy to go back and watch, because the storytelling, the acting, the directing, everything is just so entertaining. Yeah.
And Eric saying that definitively, Eric Kripke, the show's creator, saying definitively that season 5 is the end of it. He said that yesterday, I think. He initially walked it back when he said it a few weeks ago, I think, and now he made it more firm yesterday. But I think depending on what happens in November, we might have ourselves a few more seasons of material for the boys, for God's sake.
I think, and it seems like what they're saying. I mean, look, I don't think that Prime wants to give up on the boys anytime soon. Like, it's clearly working for them.
They're spinning it off.
I think they're saying the same thing that Arcane is saying. Like, Arcane is like, we know that at the end of season 2, this Vi Jinx story, like, we told the story. But this world is great.
Right.
And I think even with Gen V, we saw that. Like I kind of was like, oh, Gen V, we'll see how it is. And then I thought Gen V was great. And what is clear is like, again, because this world is so specific, it is a superhero stand-in for celebrity / political figures, highly charged political commentary, also superhero satire. It's a very clear thing. So that's why Gen V worked. And so I think season 5 is going to conclude, as I was saying, this whole whatever, whether it's like the end of season 5, Ryan kills Homelander, the end. Yeah. I think the Homelander story, this whole arc that we're going for, is going to end at the end of season 5. That being said, the aftermath of like Vought being brought down, superheroes are no longer controlled, whatever it ends up being, the world is rich enough that they could spin this off into several other stories within this universe. And I think we would all be down to watch it.
Yeah, I think it ends with Ryan having to kill himself and Homelander. I think that's how it ends. That he takes them both out, themselves out, which is heartbreaking, but possible. All right, well, there you go. That's our spoiler review for The Boys season 4, episodes 1 through 3. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Geek Buddies. We appreciate it madly, or listening to this episode of the Geek Buddies. We appreciate it. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
After you do that following, you can smash that like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, check out all the amazing content he's got there, leave your comments below. Let John know he should watch more animation, and let Shannon know what you thought of that Sunny trailer. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of everything. And if you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. All right, y'all, take care of yourselves. Be well. Have a great weekend. Don't forget, Mike and I are going to be reviewing Doctor Who for the Geek Buddies later on this weekend, but we're also going to do House of the Dragon, the three of us, possibly on Monday or Tuesday. We will have a review for you all for the first episode of House of the Dragon, so look for that from us as well. And as for me, look for my reactions to all this stuff happening over the weekend as well. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well. We'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies.